Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Happy New Year, everybody. 2023 is upon us. We are in the future. Isn't it mad that we're in that? You know, when we used to watch films when we were kids, and it was all like this was filmed in this set in 2023 or whatever it was. Now we're in that. There's that film with Sean Connery. I can't remember what it's called, but he's got that weird kind of red bikini thing on, and that was set in 2023. Can you believe that? But now we're in that futuristic place, and it's not quite the same, is it? It's not quite the same. We can't put the heating on, and we can't afford to be running around in red bikinis. It's too cold. But yeah, we'll talk about that in this episode. Actually, I hope you had a good Christmas. I hope everything was fine for you. My beautiful wife Kate and I, unfortunately, came down with that dreaded lurgy that's going around, so we spent Christmas in bed, which was a shame. Not in a good way either. You know, we were both coughing and spluttering all over each other. Got up to have Christmas dinner and then back to bed, and that was it. So it was funny though when Kate was making the dinner. It's like, should we have sprouts? You know, the last thing that this bonfire needs is petrol that's going on inside my body. So no sprouts, please. We don't need to fuel this. So yeah, it was one of them. But you know what? It's Christmas. There'll be another one. So yeah. I hope your Christmas was lovely. I hope you got to see your family and see your loved ones and not stress too much. And now we're into January, where we all worry about the money we spent at Christmas. All the bills have come in, and so our mental health is at rock bottom. But again, as well, it's winter time too, so don't forget that makes you feel a little bit shit too, because we're animals fundamentally, and we really should be hibernating, not having to go out in the cold to work and all that shit. We should be hunkered down, surrounded by loved ones and food, and sleeping and farting all day. That's what we should be doing. So don't worry. It looks like everyone else is smashing it. Everyone's made New Year's resolutions. Don't stick to them. Fuck them off. Don't worry about it. You don't make it to the gym. You don't make it to the gym. Don't worry about it. All right. Have a sandwich. Put some shit telly on, and put your feet up till the sun comes back up. Don't worry about it. All right. You know, we could all feel like we could lose a little bit of weight. Don't worry. Be kind to yourself. It's January 2023. Be fine. So, this week's episode, I have my mate Ross McGrane on. I've known Ross many years. I remember his dad, actually, Smashy, gave me my first sort of proper gig when I started all those years ago in a gig in Southend. And it was one of those ones, it had a good reputation, and I was always like, if I get onto that gig, it'd be like a step up. And then one day I got the gig, and it was really cool. And now Ross has taken over the reins, and he runs a few gigs of his own. He's also a damn fine comedian in his own right, and he's every time I'm in Ross's company, we have a really good chat. So I was really keen to get him on. He's a top lad, and I haven't spoken to him for a while, so it was good to have a proper catch up with him. We cover all manner of stuff, and you'll hear that in the episode. So if there's anything that gets said in the episode that anyone's like, oh, but that's what I believe. We're not knocking that. You can believe whatever you want. All right, we were just having a chat. So anyway, now I've made it sound more sinister than it is. Let's get on with the episode, shall we? So coming up in a minute is Ross McGrane.
A podcast from producerpaul.co.uk.
Insane in the Membrane.
Oh dear me, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so my brain's, I don't know what's going on. I've got to go to the doctor, because I've been forgetting people's names, and not like it happens to all comedians, but just lately it's been happening more often than not. And I did it with Al Barry before Christmas, and I've known Al Barry 20 years.
Oh God, Al Barry, yeah.
Yeah, and he's the last person you want to forget as he walked to the stage. Because he didn't help, he just got his phone out and started videoing it.
Oh, was you emceeing it? And you forgot his name when you were bringing him on?
As he was coming on. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is the worst thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrible with my memory as well. Mine's less of a medical thing and more of a marijuana thing. But yeah, I've had it before where you forget someone's name, but you only remember it right at the very last minute, and you just have to whip the crowd into such a frenzy that they can't hear you. Just go, ah!
That's it. Yeah. So do you find that, because there's a lot of people I know that are now, marijuana is everywhere, and well, mate, especially where I live in Brighton, it's like people using it as deodorant. It's rife. And it's well, and everyone's because everyone, it does chill you out. But I think, like everything, if you have too much of anything, it'll affect you. It can affect you in another way.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the first thing that any stoner will tell you is, oh, it's not addictive. Actually, there's nothing in it that's addictive. But it totally, it might not be chemically addictive, but you definitely get addicted to the routine and all that stuff. It's quite ritualistic as well, isn't it? But I think like. For someone like, I smoke it regularly and I'm high functioning. Some people smoke it and just turn into a blob or melt into the sofa like those I've talked to Frank adverts. But I think, being high functional, it sounds like a positive, but it's probably more of a negative than it is because, it's difficult to find a reason to stop doing something when you're not, the only time it's really negatively impacting you is when you're like trying to go to sleep and it's like, your ass is going to burn down.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've been doing that lately. Like, last couple of nights, because we were ill all over Christmas. We had that horrible lurgy thing. So Christmas was ruined. But it gave us a chance to have a rest. But what's happening? Last night, we were sat in front of the telly, last 2 nights, and I'm nodding off, and I'm like, oh, God, I can't keep my eyes open. As soon as we get into bed, I'm like that. I'm like wide awake. I'm like, for God's sake. Yeah, like my brain loves to go to sleep when I'm driving the car or I'm handling like machinery.
I think that's something else that people tend to forget as well when it comes to weed. A lot of people use it to help them sleep, but weed is actually a stimulant, not a depressant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, although you might get that kind of body high and that feeling of, wanting to just sleep, it's your mind is actually sort of hyperactive, really. But it's just more focused on certain things. That's why a lot of artists use it and stuff when you're focused on. How many times when you've been smoking with people and someone chucks you a lighter and you're not even looking at them, you just go bang like Spider-Man, just catches like, something about like just focuses your brain, like become a superhero.
It's like Limitless. Yeah, like that superhero. What's his special powers? I can make a bag of Watsits disappear.
Yeah.
Kit Kats just dissolve around me.
Give you 3 theories on flat Earth.
Why it's actually that's not a bad idea. I think that might be a thing. That's the thing, isn't it? If you watch too much, because you go down those rabbit holes, and then you go. Well, and your brain starts to go, well, there's enough people here saying all these things. And then you have to come to and go, no, what are you doing? This is how it's bollocks. Of course it's bollocks.
Well, have you seen that documentary, that Beyond the Curve or whatever it is on Netflix?
Is that the one where they did that test with the light?
Oh, God, it's just the most... It's
they
so
did a
creepy,
test
mate. It's absolutely brilliant. You have to watch it. It's like they just they spend thousands on this bit of kit and just prove themselves wrong on the thing. It's just, well, maybe if we're not holding it right or something. It's just hilarious, isn't it?
But some people, I think I don't know about flat earthers. I don't know why they go down that route. Or maybe it's another version of people wanting to feel that they're different to everybody, that they've got a special thing, maybe. See, people seem to want that at the minute. They want a thing.
Do you know what I think it is with not just the flat Earth thing, but a lot of like you've got to believe in some conspiracy theories, otherwise you think that everybody's just telling you the truth all the time, right? But like, I think a big part of it is the sense of community that they find in those things, because it's like quite a niche thing that something that is, you're either for it or against it. Most people are against it, and like the left fighting the right, it's like neither one of them are making any sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think they find just friends in that sort of environment where they might be alienated or ostracised in the real world, or just haven't got anything about them. Some people just haven't got anything about them, have they? And that's their thing. No. They wrap their whole identity around.
Yeah. And then they sit there feeling like they're really super intelligent because they're quoting things they've read.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. So I consider myself left-wing and liberal and everything, but I think, like, when it's too far the other way, there's this kind of holier-than-thou attitude on the left that just turns people off immediately that are in the centre. It's like, if you feel like you either do it this way or you think this way, or you are, a far-right fascist. It's like, hold on a minute. I'm just saying, maybe Brexit's all right, But I think,
mate.
radical anything is bad, isn't it? Radical anything is bad.
Yeah. But it's like on all sides, like we're talking about people like flat earthers sitting around quoting things they've read and feeling like they're super intelligent because there's big words in there, and and they'll mention Nietzsche or whoever else, some other philosopher.
Yeah.
But then you got the academics, the actual academics, and they're doing the same thing. They're just quoting bits and bobs from books they've read.
Yeah.
And it's a similar sort of thing, and you go, well. It's good. You've obviously got a good mind for remembering stuff, and being able to quote it back and understand it, I guess. But I don't know. It doesn't make you better than anyone.
I honestly think that just being in some kind of conflict or having to solve some kind of problem is just a part of who we are. And I think it's more about the fight than it is about winning. Do you know what I mean? With it,
yeah.
Just. I just think that they'll just go on and on and on until they're dead. I think like you can't, because you can't argue with. It's like religion, isn't it? It's like if you say to a Christian who thinks God created the earth, and you say, well, that's magic, that's ridiculous. Look at evolution. It's like, yeah, but that's just a theory. You can't prove that either. And it's like, well, fair enough. And you'll just go around in circles forever. And it's like a conspiracy that you'll say to a conspiracy theorist or a flat earther, look at all the literature, the science, and I'll go, yeah, but they're all lying to you. And you'll go, well, fucking, I can't argue with that then, can I? And it's like, do they actually want, to win the argument, or do they just enjoy the fight?
Yeah, I think they enjoy the fight. Sorry, it's Kate sneaking out. Yeah. Oh, bless her. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it is. It's the enjoyment of the battle. That's what they want to do. They want to get involved with each other and just like, I'm right. No, I'm right. I
went through a phase of it. Like, I was at this horrible, shitty job where, I was working in a factory, and it was just everything was grey. The walls were grey. The floor was grey. The people that worked there were grey. It was just grey, and I was just sitting at the computer board and just like arguing with gammons on Facebook. You know what I mean? And it's like. No one in the history of social media has had an argument with someone on Facebook, had the reply and gone, do you know what, you got a point. You know what I mean? It's just never happened, does it? And I found that I would get so embroiled in just wanting to be right and wanting to win. And because I'm sort of arguing from the left, I feel like I'm coming from a more righteous place. Do you know what I mean? And I see some of it come up in memories and stuff. And I just cringe my fucking face off, mate. I'm just because it's just such a waste of energy. And I don't know whether it's because as I'm getting older, I'm getting more stoic or whatever, but I just think you've only got so much energy to give, and actually giving negative energy, putting all that effort, that takes up so much more energy than just not giving a fuck about that. What difference does it make? You can't change it. And I know that, you'll have people that say, well, if everyone thought like you, it would never change anything. It's like, yeah, well, fair enough. But this is my journey, and I don't care.
But it's I like having conversations with people, talking about different beliefs, because then I want to know where it comes from. Where does that come from then? Why do you believe that then? What happened? My ex-wife, who was brought up a Jehovah's Witness, and I remember talking to her about evolution and her opinions on, again, it was she was very much a creationist, And you're going, well, all right, fair enough. And where does that come from? We had a really, really good chat about it. And I'm I still went, I don't think that's right. But that's only because, again, she go, yeah, you can't prove your side of it. I'm like, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. And you go, all right, but I like to have the chat though.
Yeah, no, of course, I find it really interesting. I think it's. I went to a Church of England primary school, not because our family were religious, but just because it was a good school. Do you know what I mean? But it's we were at church every Wednesday and whatever else, and it was it just felt for me I believed in God and all that when I was in primary school, because I was just having it shoved down my throat.
Yeah,
for a better expression.
Same. Yeah.
But Father Christmas, which is kind of this mythical character to make kids behave themselves. It kind of feels like that's what the core principles of Christianity is as well, or any religion. It's look, be good to everyone. But eventually you get older and you realise, oh, okay, that's just a thing you told me, to be a good person, and it's good morals and principles. But, you're trying to, when you're trying to argue the point with someone who's not just believed it their whole life, but their family believes it, their parents believe it, it's the defense mechanisms come up so quickly that a lot of them will never be open-minded to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then maybe I'm probably closed-minded the other way as well, because I just think it's all nonsense.
I've got to a point now where I'm kind of, because so many mad things have happened over the last couple of years, and there's things like, because of global warming, things are starting to thaw out. So they're finding like bones of things and all sorts of weird and wonderful creatures. Now I'm getting to a point, I'm like, do you know what? I'm quite open-minded to all of it now. Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if the fella from upstairs came down and went, do you know what? I've been around this whole time. I've seen what's been going on. Now I'm like, I've got to step in. I've got to take care of business.
I'd be buggered, mate, if that happened. But I'm just like, I feel like, you know, when you think about it, like the stuff like that, like people discovering these like ancient bones and artifacts, and like the technology that we've created that enables us to be able to date those bones and tell us how old they are. You know, all that stuff is so incredible and right in front of us that why do we need to believe that it was like magic that done it? Why that? To me, just like, this is probably going to be one of the wankiest things I've ever said anywhere, but looking up, when you get like a clear night, it's just all stars. Like a stoner, remember, right? You look up to that, and it's just like, knowing, as an atheist, knowing that I'm in space, I'm on a rock, these are planets, these are stars or whatever, you know, it's like, that's enough for me. Like, well, I don't need anything else.
No, you're right, actually. I've done that myself. I've been sat there going, right, so we are just sort of a chemical reaction. The whole thing, everything is just a chemical reaction. And then you're like, that makes sense. And, you know, what makes me laugh is when they go, well, Jesus and God and all that business was around at this point. And then, but these bones are from like 4 billion years before that. And you go, well, how did he do that then? And why would he do that then?
No mention of dinosaurs in the Bible. Not a you'd think that'd be on page 1, mate, wouldn't it? Day 6, God invented the sky. On day 7, he invented these massive fucking monsters.
And he went, oh shit, I've got a bit. This week's strong.
Just where's the teeth?
Just thousands of teeth in one mouth. And that's where Rob Beckett comes from. I read a thing the other day, and it said it was saying that dinosaurs were on the planet for so long that they found fossils of themselves, like they were fossils back then.
Fuck. It's just mind blowing, isn't it? Honestly. You listen to like that Neil deGrasse Tyson or whatever on Joe Rogan, and it will just like, you'll come away a new man at the end of it. Or a broken man, I don't know, but it's it's just fascinating, mate, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, just don't take any of it. Just look at it, take the bits you like, you know, don't make it your personality. I don't think that sort of, it's like, you know, when if you believe the Earth is flat and it's the only planet that's flat, the rest are all round, but for some reason this one's a disc.
Yeah. Do you know what my argument is? A friend of a friend was like a massive flat earther, and my mate brought him round, you know, to a night out that we were at once, and when it came out, one of my other friends who you've met as well is a dealer of taxidermy, and he's like,
I know him. Yeah.
He's got the bachelor with honours in zoology or whatever. He's been on expeditions to Madagascar. He's found a new species of cockroaches. So he's like a very clued up guy and very into evolution and all that sort of stuff. And when the guy come out with like the flat Earth thing, just watching them two go at it, mate, was fucking amazing. Like Jamie, like his face, like the tech was like, "Are you joking? Are you joking?" But like, my argument always was like, "So what? Like, okay, so it is. What? So what?
Yeah.
Why do they care so much?"
But
what difference does it make?
Well, then it's like those guys that did the documentary, and they want to be the ones to prove that, like, it's that, like, because they want, I suppose, they want their place in history. They want to be. It's that thing of, you know, they want to be remembered as the ones. We were the ones that discovered it. It was, and you go, you're looking at this through 3 bin lids and a comb. People that have gone out into the universe, like they've got billions of dollars, billions of pounds of equipment and stuff. And you're sitting there with two bean cans and a bit of string, and you're like,
that's what it is though. It's they found a group, they found their people. Do you know what I mean? And just that's what we want more than anything, I think, isn't it? It's find a group of people that we feel like are our friends or give us some sort of meaning. That's all we're all searching for. We've got comedy and that. Some people have got music or whatever else, but some people have got this flat Earth thing. It's like
Yeah, and it's all crazy.
Yeah, we're all fucking mental, mate.
We are. If you look at comedy, I mean, we were watching. What were we watching last night?
That's my coffee machine doing a cleaning cycle.
Oh, what the fuck's that?
I've changed, mate. No, let's be honest.
Mate, who are you?
That will stop shut now.
Yeah, I mean, how big is it? Do you work in a cafe? Is it a big one?
It's about that big. Yeah, it's like a bean to cup thing. It's the single best purchase I've ever made. It was 250 quid, but I use it 5 times a day.
That was something else I read the other day. This is the thing. I read clips. I don't read whole bits. I read a couple of sentences on Twitter or something like that. And then it said that coffee doesn't actually wake you up. It like shuts off the receptors. It shuts off all the things that make your brain feel that you're tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, coffee's the maddest thing ever, really, because it's like it is a drug, caffeine, and it's like and it is so addictive. But just because it's just legal and you can just go and buy it, every other shop is a coffee shop, we just don't think about it. Like, I wake up, I am just a different person in the morning. I know it's cliche, but like until I've had that coffee, I think because I like strong coffee as well, I'm just an absolute piece of shit. But, even again, as I get older, if I have a coffee after fucking 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about refugees.
Yeah. I can't watch. I've had to stop watching the news because
oh God, no! I don't watch that.
I feel so helpless. I can't do anything about it. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, again, it sounds so selfish to even say it out loud, but I just think since I've reached my mid-30s, I'm just very much like I just focus on what's right in front of me right now and just and not worry about any stuff I can't change.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you can do. That's all you can do is make sure your little bit. I've said this loads of times on here. Make sure your little bit is taken care of. Make sure everyone around you, you're decent to the folks around you. That's all you can do. You can't.
Well, especially doing what we do for work, mate. We've got no stability, so it's not like a case of go and do the job 9 to 5, come home, think about all this stuff and then go to bed. It's like if we don't put 99.9% of our energy into our work, then we don't work and then we can't pay bills, and it's like it can get quite intense like that sometimes. I think
absolutely.
I definitely have got it. I think that's obviously deep down the reason why I smoke puff is because my brain's just constantly going, and just that seems to be like this buffer between the real world and my brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find very easily I can get like into spirals thinking about all this negative shit, and then that once I put myself into a negative mindset, even if it's about something totally meaningless like a argument on Facebook or whatever, like I will then just spiral into all the other stuff in my life that is more important actually. Will then start making that all starts piling on. I think although I don't believe in, I'm not necessarily a spiritual person or whatever. I do believe in science, and I do believe in energy and all that. And I do, I had a lot of people in my life, grew up on a council estate, went to scored a bit of a toe rag with my mates and whatever else. And, I still see I love all those people to death. But, that they're very negative people to be around, And it's like I had to sort of take all of those people out of my life because I think I'm just a bit of an energy sponge for it. And someone will come. The people who just like their whole identity is just being pissed off and upset about something. Yeah. So it's like, how you doing, mate? It's like, oh well, yeah, this has happened and that has happened, and and before you know it, you're like, oh fucking hell, yeah, actually, I feel a bit shit as well because you come away from it, you just feel drained. But I think we're quite lucky in that respect because we do comedy. We found something like an art form that's a little bit more because I think like you're either a creative mentality or you're just or you're not, or you're like it's a spectrum or whatever. But you know, comedians get you in a way that your old schoolmates just wouldn't. You know, I met up with a couple of them before, and it's
yeah.
You know, the things that they find funny, the kind of laddie sort of WhatsApp chat, the hack bullshit, you know, that they laugh at, and you're sort of like laughing along, going, oh yeah. And then you'll make a quip that is like fucking razor sharp. You've just like smashed it, and it just goes over all their heads, and you're just like, okay, you know. Excuse me, guys, but that actually deserved a lot more than you gave it. Thanks.
All right, mate. Someone's been reading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it goes back to what you were saying just now about people find their tribe, if you like, or their group, and that's why youth cultures down the ages, like, you know, skinheads, mods, goth, whatever you're into, like emo, whatever. That's why those things became so big and so important, is because people found their people.
Yeah,
you know, people are thinking a lot, you know, on the same sort of level.
Yeah, I think people's worth was kind of defined by the people that they hung around with. You know, it's like it's something that you just learn in school at such a young age, and I don't think it ever leaves you. You know, I still think like subconsciously I categorise people by where they would have been on the social hierarchy in school. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he would have been one of the popular lads. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just because I'm fucking mental, but it's just something that, you know, if you think, especially in our country where like we send them off to school so super young, and then they're in there, you know, all day, and it's like, that's where you kind of learn how to be a human. You know, there's only so much the parents can teach you, but you really learn what life's about when you get on the school playground. And if you're unfortunate enough to not kind of find a tribe, as you said, then, you know, you're gonna have it tough, mate. And that you're gonna have it tough in school, but that's gonna stay with you, that trauma, all the way through life. And a lot of people don't fucking turn it around, mate. I mean, you know how it goes. Some people go fully the other way. I've got mates that have done both. I've got mates that have had, you know, terrible backgrounds, upbringings, and, you know, been very unfortunate or whatever. Most of them have gone south and gone worse, and prison and God knows what else. Some of them have gone totally the other way, and, you know, a multi-millionaire businessman, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's tough if you don't find. I think a lot depends, particularly when you're young, is finding a tribe, and I guess that stays with you all the way through, you know. So that's where things like these online communities, because we're, you know, you can find your people pretty fucking quick, no matter what weird shit you're into, mate. The internet, there'll be a forum for whatever it is you're into.
The weird shit you're into.
Exactly, you know. Trust me, it's there.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny when because you're at school in your formative years, it does stay with you, like the being brought up to believe that God was a thing and Jesus was real and all this stuff, and it does stay with you. You do, even though, like I just said to you, it's part of me sometimes goes, oh, maybe I'm open-minded to anything, you know, not just in case, but any mad shit could happen, right? Yeah. But that's because of school. It is because of school, because you're brought up that way. You know, you're brought up believing in God, fear God. You know, if you're not a good person, you'll go to hell and all that sort of shit.
Well, when you really break it down, like as you grow up, you just gradually find out that everything you've been told is a fucking lie.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, how does anyone deal with that? You know, I think I've obviously got a daughter now. She's 7 years old, and you only really start looking at, you know, your own life and your own upbringing when you're looking at it through the eyes of your kid, and like, you know, you want to give them the best start, the best morals and principles. You think about what you would have liked to see more from your upbringing. You think, right, well, I'm going to give more to that. But like, you know, what is the answer? Because ultimately, you grow up as a fucking optimist, mate. Don't you? It's like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have some sweets. Let's go to the park. And then all of a sudden you leave school, right, real world now, let's get a job. And it's like, oh, this is fucking shit. Depression, Xanax, 3 bottles of wine, death.
But yeah, they don't, because the thing is with school, it doesn't teach you about life. It teaches you, like, I read something somewhere and they were saying that school is really about, it's like a sorting office where it sorts out who's going to be the ones that are going to benefit the capitalist world that we live in, and who's going to be the ones that are going to be, you know, like Mickey Flanagan said, carrying the boxes to the vans. You know,
yeah, well, I think, you know, this might sound a little bit conspiracy theory nut, but like I honestly think it's just a way of getting people into the system. It's just a machine, mate. The whole world is a machine. And it's like that, particularly in this country, I think like the school system is just set up in such a way that it's just conditioning people to, like, you know, get in at this time, lunch at this time, finish work here. You know, like other cultures, even France, you know, they don't go to school till they're 7. And it's like, I never really gave it any thought until I had my own kid. And it was like when I was sending Lexi off to school and at first, like, she just did not look young enough, old enough to be in that fucking uniform. It's like she should be playing and messing about. And so... yeah, I also used to teach like kids that were on the brink of expulsion or had already been expelled, like re-engagement courses and stuff. And it was through like this radio station I was working for, and we were like teaching these kids maths and English and stuff, but also like dangling the carrot of radio to sort of get them interested. And it sort of like showed me really, it's like, you know, we say this is how we're going to teach every kid in the country, but not every kid learns that way. So, you know, if you don't learn that way, whether it be through ADHD or just not being, you know, I don't think I've got ADHD or anything like that, but I felt I was a creative, not an academic. So when you're telling me to like sit down and put my head down and write, I'm just like, it's gone, mate. But, you know, drama and all this other more expressive stuff. So I think we say, you know, this is a blanket way we're going to teach everyone. When people don't learn that way, they become disruptive and distract other students, and then that sort of becomes into more, then they get told that they're misbehaving, and then those behavioural problems start spiralling, and then without them even thinking about it, they're just like, well, do you know what, fuck you then, I'm just going to, you know, you think I'm this, I'll be this, and then they become that. But when we get them in there and we're like in jeans and a t-shirt and we'll swear and, you know, talk to them like humans, and we're not a suit towering over them, and we're like, you know, we had like a 98.5% pass rate out of all the kids we had.
Yeah, right.
And it's just through the different approach, you know. But I don't know what the answer is, you know, more funding and you know, I guess, but I don't know.
But it's that it's funny how government finds the money to invest in the things that benefits them.
Yeah,
this is again conspiracy theories you could get into, but
exactly
just how it seems, it's like suddenly they find money. You know, like when COVID was happening, and we were talking about the arts and everyone, you know, because the art, you know, because we all, you know, gigs and musicians and comedians and everyone in that kind of in that world, we lost all of our work, and then it was seen as not important that we had. That those jobs existed. You go, well, no, you still need entertaining. That's why you pay us.
Oh my god!
And then they were like, oh, there's no money. But then they found fucking millions for the Royal Ballet. And you go,
oh, don't. Well, you know, I remember when you know, Corbyn was in the running, and you know, he published his manifesto, and it was like £83 billion or something. But it was like, you know, giving free university education, loads of funding to the NHS, and all these great things. And they just, all the Tories were just pissing themselves. Well, where's this magic money tree? You know, that money doesn't. Oh, where are you going to find that? You know, £80 billion. And then COVID happened, and they're like, well, let's just fucking pay everyone full salary for just for a whole year. We're just going to give everyone all this money. We're going to buy all this PPE that we're going to end up fucking spending millions of pounds to burn because it's all the wrong PPE. And you know, it's like, although. They're all fucking liars, mate, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're just lying pieces of shit that are in it for their own fucking gain. And this is why I don't get wrapped up in it anymore. It gets on my tits. You know, I feel like, I know that you even mentioned Corbyn and half the people are like, oh, you're fucking lefty weirdo. But it's like, he, for me, was just the last opportunity we had of having someone that genuinely gave a shit for whatever you think of him, you know, for whatever reason. And that's just my personal experience. The rest of it just feels like, you know, it's almost so obvious that they're taking the piss that you can't even call it a conspiracy theory, can you?
No, it's just this. They're actually standing there going, we are taking the piss.
Yeah, exactly. Just tell us
about it.
Next slide, please.
And this is the thing, like you've hit the nail on the head again by coming away from it, not looking at it. That's the only way I can keep my marbles in my head, because I get too into it. You know, I can't do anything about it, so I get frustrated. But that's what they want. They want you to look at the news and go, "Oh, look at this! See, look at you in your privileged little house. Well, this is happening." You go, "Yeah, it's happening because of you. You lot fucked it. I didn't fuck it."
Exactly.
I'm too busy trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to work out if I can afford to put the heating on for half an hour.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they just, most people are just so, you're so conditioned by it that you just accept it. It's mad. Like, what was the my lad? We had our fences blew out in one of the storms, right? We rent, so I called up the estate agents and said, "Oh yeah, we need to get our fences replaced." And she was like, "Yeah, all right, well, we'll look into it." And then a week goes by, nothing. I've got a big hole in my garden. Ring them up again, and she's like, "Oh, the issue is lots of the landlord has a portfolio of properties, and lots of the fences have blown out, and everyone's disputing." That they own the fence, all the neighbours are disputing it, and I just thought, your poor landlord, and I'm just like, my poor multi-millionaire portfolio holding fucking landlord. Are you joking, mate? I'm a comedian who's just come out of a pandemic. I've had fucking 3 gigs pull this week, and I've got no fences. There was another dog in my garden yesterday. My poor landlord.
Is he sitting looking at his portfolio in his lounge chair in some hot country somewhere?
Mate, they turned up at my house and was like went out of the blue and was like looking over the fence, like my neighbour's fence. He's got cameras up because he's got a car and whatever. And he, they're like, they just turned up. They're like an older couple, and they just sort of turned up and they're trying to eye up the fences to see what's what. Just to fucking mad. He was like, "Do you know who these people are?" They're my poor landlords.
As they helicoptered in, check out Rossi's fences.
Yeah, I've got to spray paint "Eat the Rich" on the wall when next time they come around.
But that's the thing as well. Renting is becoming practically impossible. It's like you go like, well, we can't afford to buy a house. Many people have to rent. Many people prefer to rent because it's just easier than owning your own property, or cheaper. But now rents are going sky high. You're looked at differently if you rent. People go, "Oh, you rent, do you? You don't own your own property."
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make me a scumbag. That just
I'm probably paying more a month than you are, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something as well. They go, when they go, "Oh yeah, we can't give you a mortgage. You can't afford because you can't. We don't know if you can keep up the payments."
That is one of the biggest fucking cons in this country. That is, honestly, the fact that I moved out at 18 and I've been paying best part of £1,000 a month or more. I'm 35 now,
Yeah.
And that money's just gone. There's no, it doesn't mean anything. My credit rating's actually shot to pieces. They'll tell me that I can't afford a £470 a month mortgage, but I've been paying £1,100 a month for the last 15 years. Never missed a payment, always on time. No. Mate, I've got one of them Monzo accounts now, and fuck me, it tells you the running total of what you've paid people, and it is one of the worst features I've ever seen. You don't need that in your life, mate. You don't need it. Every month I watch the rent come in, it's like, 46 grand or something I've given them, and it's just like...
Oh, God, it tallies it up.
Yeah, mate. That and, Just Eat as well, at the pub, and it's like, fucking no, mate, stop.
That's the thing, innit? It's that they go, "Oh yeah, we don't know if you keep up the payments, don't it?" You go, "Well, you know what I had to do to get this flat? I had to get 3 months rent in advance. I had to get the deposit. I had to prove that I was earning. And that's how we got the flat."
Mate, I remember when we moved in here, we had to you get that much paperwork you have to fill out, don't you, to rent a place. And they've given us all. We took it away. We've done it with all the contracts, tenancy agreement, all these bits and pieces. Filled it all out, signed all the pages they needed, took it back. I put it in the envelope, took it back, and we had to pay them 280 quid for that admin. She just took it off me and put it in a pigeonhole, and it was like the admin fee was 280 quid, £300. And they abolished it recently, but now all our rents are just going up. It's like, I remember Holly saying, that's good that they've done that. If we look at moving out now, it'll be a lot easier for us to move out. And I was like, yeah, but we're going to pay for it anyway. You don't think the landlords are going to swallow that cost, mate, do you? Like the people that have got the money.
No, it gets moved around.
Exactly. As soon as you take away that fee there, then they just slowly... Mate, literally during the lockdown, they wouldn't have put my rent up by 50 quid a month. And I just rang them and was just like, "Are you fucking joking? Are you having a laugh?" And to their credit, they were like, "All right, let's leave it." And they left it another I think a year, but then they've put it up recently.
It's like this with this place, and she said, "Oh well, we've got to put the rent up. We've got to put the rent up in line with inflation." You're going, what are you talking about? You don't even know what inflation is. No one does.
Exactly. What do you mean, inflation? I'm going to put it down because of deflation. I'm feeling deflated by all your bullshit, so let's put the rent down. I'm going to give you less money.
And then they wonder why people's mental health is, at rock bottom. They're genuinely surprised. They go, well, this is happening. That's how suicide rates are on rising again. And and you're like, yeah. Of course it is, because it doesn't look like there's anything good happening at the minute.
I felt that
that's why nurses are on strike. That's why train drivers are on strike. That's why people have had enough, and now we want. It's just mental.
Yeah, I felt the pressure to buy a house, and my missus, she wants us to buy a house. I'd love to buy a house at some point, but it's like I think there's generations now that would just feel so hopeless by the whole situation. It's like with the way everything's costing as well, it's like I think like my nan was like, you should have bought a house, and it was like I remember thinking like you paid 20 grand for your house, and that was like twice your salary or 2 or 3 or 4 times your salary or whatever. For me to buy a house, I need a deposit I need a mortgage that's like fucking 30 times what the average salary is for a person here. It's just it's not impossible unless I make it big somehow. get that sweet tour money, that insane in the membrane money. You know what I'm saying?
This is it. Oh yeah. Absolutely rolling in it over there. That's why I'm wearing a hat, because I ain't got the heating on.
I should be wearing your hat. It matches my wall.
Is it?
We're in deep Essex today, mate. This is even the walls are orange.
It's lovely shade.
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah. Valencia, if you're interested.
There's 4 women stood behind you, but you can't see them. Yeah. Essex suntans. That's the other thing with Essex. It gets a bad rap, but having lived there, I realise now it's not. It gets a bad rap. It's really, actually, it's a pretty cool place. There's some very cool places in Essex.
Obviously I've lived there my whole life. But I think, like, doing comedy, you go all over the country, and audiences are different depending on where you go. But like Essex is like, they're always like the right side of rowdy. Do you know what I mean? I've had some of the most enjoyable gigs I've ever done have been here. Yeah, I think like you get those gigs elsewhere, and I'm not nowhere near as well travelled as you are with it. But like I'd definitely say, I know that a lot of comics coming out into Essex, like they'll see some of the rooms down here and just be, oh fucking hell, this is going to be like carnage, and it can be carnage, but it always seems to be that like they're the right. I think like I was talking to someone about it. It was Mike Shearer I was talking to about it the other week, and we were like comparing Essex audiences with Kent audiences, and it's like I feel like we're literally around the corner from each other, but like Kent don't like having the piss taken out of them as much as people from Essex. Like people from Essex actually welcome it almost. They're like, they'll be a bit bullshit that, but it's like you'll take the piss out of it, like, fucking yeah, you're right, we are twats. But like Kent's just a little bit too close to London, and so they're like, they rather have you take the piss out of yourself rather than taking the piss out of them.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and people in Kent are. I mean, anyone from Kent listen to this? I'm from Kent, so I get it. All right, but there is an element of, what did you fucking say? And you're like, no, I'm just having a laugh. Why? Why are you saying
it's not even a snobbery. It's like it's just certain things. I notice it with MCing. Someone will shout something out or whatever, or you'll have an interaction with someone and they'll try and be a little bit clever. And like in Essex, we're at the Alex. My gig every Sunday. I'll just like parry at something like, just mug them off a little bit or whatever. And that will always get, 20-30% more at a gig in Essex than what it would, generally speaking, at a gig in Kent. Yeah. I'm obviously generalising. Is it xenophobia? I don't
know. No, we're dealing in stereotypes.
It's regional, isn't it? That's fine.
But it's true. And I know, having gigged, being from Kent, having gigged in Kent, there is an element of, they're all right when they're chipping in, but as soon as you give it back, that's when they go, all right, that's a bit strong, mate. I'm not having that. They go, you started it. I didn't even know you did until you piped up in the dark, you dickhead. And now I'm the arsehole.
Tunbridge Wells are a whole species of their own, aren't they?
Well, this is it. Now producer Paul being
From Tunbridge Wells.
That's exactly where the studio is right now.
Yeah. This is where the master recording is being made.
That's because you've got the money to pay for all the equipment. That's why.
The electric's still on here.
Be very careful what you say, because Paul's in charge of the edit. So.
Paul's too hot, if anything.
Yeah. Burning poor people as we speak. There is, yes, Tunbridge Wells gets a bad rep.
I don't know. I think I've got a bit of a bad taste in my mouth because I've done a couple of gigs before Christmas in Royal Tunbridge Wells that were just. Oh, they fucking hated me so much. So I think
really?
I'm just coming out of it like, yeah.
See, this is the thing, isn't it? It's a funny one because we do a gig at the Sussex Arms in Tunbridge Wells, monthly gig, and every time it's fucking brilliant. Whether that's the clientele of the pub, maybe. I don't know. No, actually, because they're quite a mixed bunch. There's some, some typically Tunbridge Wells types, and there's some other like rock types that frequent the pub because it's part of the forum. So there's that kind of gig, that sort of music gig element to it, and it's a good mix of people, and they're always brilliant and they're always up for it. So I've experienced the other side of it.
I think venues have got so much to do with it. I think it's like this gig. It was twice at the same gig. This place, so like I went back for just to get that retribution. And I just didn't get it. Turns out they hate you more the second time, which is weird.
You again?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this was in like a very sort of posh. It looks like a pub, but it's not a pub. It's like, they do a Sunday roast, but it's like a 6-course taster menu, and it's the wine pairing's 118 quid. So it's like it's just a very upmarket like kind of place, and they were just I think I was just a little bit too rough around the edges for them, Rich. You know what I mean? I think they come in, smelt the weed, saw the little man bag. But, oh no, hold on to the MacBook, darling. This
we have a dealer in the room.
Yeah.
But this is the thing I've noticed with you. Like, we've known each other a while, and many years actually, long time.
Years, yeah.
I've watched you grow up, boy.
Yeah.
And it's funny. You do the same thing that I do. If I'm nervous, I get really working class and I swear too much.
Oh mate, yeah.
And especially when I'm in an environment like that, if I really feel like I'm on the back foot, subconsciously it all starts to pour out of me, and I'm like, "You fucking what? And I'm like, I don't even speak like that in real life. Like, why am I doing that now? Like, you're the same. Like we've had this conversation today, and we know we've got our accents, but it doesn't. When you listen to what we're saying, you can hear that we're not stupid. We're not. We've actually, we've read things, and we've been taking a piss and saying, we don't read this, we don't do that, but we do read and we do understand, and that's what's coming across here. But in those environments, we do sound like oiks. I've watched you do it. You've seen me do it.
It's an absolute nightmare. It is. It's like that is my biggest bugbear, and the thing that I've tried to change the most through my stand-up career is to like swear less. Be more accessible. Yeah. Just don't. But like you say, the more nervous. The amount of times I've done a great gig and I've recorded it, and I'm just like, this is going to be wicked. I'm going to chop this up. I'm going to send this to this person. I'm going to put that on Facebook, and then I get home and watch it, and I've said fuck 5 times in the first 10 seconds. And it's like, it's just totally the whole thing's unusable. I paid someone money to like get me a really decent. I did a gig at James Beattie's gig in Braintree. Yeah. So one of my favourite gigs, lovely, like rammed, sold out room, looks beautiful, big theatre like stage behind us, really good quality footage. But I'd had just fucking one too many Guinnesses before I went on. Oh yeah. And there was this cocky geezer that was like had his feet on stage for like the whole first act. I was going on the middle. Jerry Kay opened. And I just walked on and like I meant to sort of like jovially kind of parrot, like, oh, you in showbiz, are you, mate? And which I said to him, and he was like, no. And I was like, well, get your fucking feet off my stage. This is my fucking office now. I don't turn up at Greg's and put my feet on a counter, dickhead, do I? And like, I watched it at the time, people laughed. And at the time, I was like, oh yeah, that was great. It's going to look great. And then I watched it back and I was like, oh God, that was way too much. This poor bastard's just flown his legs off like the fucking like the can. But it was like part of it was nerves, part of it was knowing I was filming it, part of it, and then having too many, getting fucking pissed. It's just an idiot decision, But you pay for an education, and it cost me the cost of that video. to learn not to do that again until the next time.
But it's, I think that's it. I think it's that whole, having had people on here that have been to, they've been to private school, and when you talk to them, all right, they're a little bit more educated, but they're not. They still have the same problems that everybody else has. Yeah. In fact, they've got their own set of problems they've had to deal with. They got sent away when they were 6 years old, so they had to deal with that. The fact that when you're at such a young age and you need your parents around, and they just got sent off, so straight away you've got that scar to deal with. Where you're like, oh, my parents didn't want me around. Like, okay, well, how do I deal with that? And that's, I think it doesn't matter what. The thing is, it doesn't. This is what I've learned from travelling the world. It doesn't matter about your background. We're all fundamentally the same, and we've all got problems. The only people that don't seem to worry about it are the psychopaths. Yeah. Or the sociopaths that just they exist on another level where none of that stuff bothers them. They're just.
I think this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Like, I think we just intrinsically need problems to solve. We need to be solving problems all the time. It's like you could say, if money's your issue and you're always struggling or whatever, you could say, oh my God, I just wish I fucking won the lottery. That'd solve everything. But, it wouldn't. You'd bet your bollocks you'd win that lottery, and then you'd have different problems, But we just intrinsically need to be constantly solving problems. And it's just how we deal with it, and how much we let it control us, do you know what I mean? Rather than just I let things, like I used to get really I'd stew on stuff and get really angry about things and just constantly think about it, so if someone mugged me off or said something that they shouldn't, or, but like I said, it just feels like a total waste of energy now. I just let myself feel that and then just move it on. And genuinely, the second I started thinking like that and not actually worrying about what the future, but just worrying about what's right in front of me, things started happening for me. And that's it's not a coincidence. It's just it's a headspace thing. I just think your brain's only got so much juice, and if you're giving a little bit of juice to that thing and you're giving a little bit of juice to that thing, you can't give enough juice to the thing that's actually going to take you out of the stuff that makes you worry about that. I've been running gigs since I left school. I love comedy, as you know, and my dad was running gigs in so I got brought up around it. I only ever wanted to be a comedian, and I set up my first gig when I was 14, 15. I've been running gigs ever since. But I was running gigs because I wanted to do it, do you know what I mean? And now I still run gigs. I love the gigs that I run, but I'm getting busier with the comedy. I want to grow as a comedian. I don't want to be a club comic all my life. I want to try and level up and write shows and do Edinburgh and all this business. But I was sitting at my laptop getting the ump because I took on a load of gigs at the beginning of last year, new gigs, venues and stuff. Great. And then, inevitably you book in a year with them, you've got contracts and stuff signed, and then they just start pulling gigs on a night's notice. Yeah. I've then got to ring people like you and say, I'm really sorry, mate, but that 200 quid you're expecting on Friday isn't going to be fucking happening now because this venue's, and then I spent weeks trying to chase them for the money and all that stuff, and I'm sitting there getting really pissed off about it. And I was like, what's the matter? And I told her, and she was like, well, why are you doing it? And honestly, mate, it was like someone just switched the light on. It was I was like, why am I doing it? I don't actually have to do this. And honestly, mate, the next day I sat down, opened up the laptop. I never open up and just write. I have things that come out in conversation, and then I try and work that into stuff. But I opened the laptop and I had one sentence, and I started writing it. And that routine is 4 minutes. The Centre Parks bit that I do is 5 minutes. Those two bits just came. And it might be coincidence, but it just feels like, to me, I just freed up a bit of space in my brain. Once I just allowed myself to think, actually, let's work out a way so that you can do less of that. Yeah. My brain then, it opened me up to doing, stuff that will actually benefit my career more so. You said to me years ago, and I remember it really stuck with me, we were on the way back, you was like, how many top comedians do you know that run their own gigs? And the answer is none, really. So it's eventually you've got to pick a lane. Yeah. And, but I think there's a lot to be said for that, not necessarily just in comedy, but if you've only got a certain amount of energy up here or a certain amount of brain space, and you need to You just need to be really careful and thoughtful about what you give it to, because it's fucking...
Yeah, it's true.
So valuable.
It's true. It's like someone close to me had a bit of a falling out with a mate, and she's right. She's right that she's sticking up for herself because her mate's been taking a piss for a long time, and she, but at the same time she's upset because her mate's upset with her now, and she goes, I'm just standing my ground. I'm like, I know, and you're doing the right thing. This is what happens when you call people on their bullshit. You'll end up being the bad guy, and it's horrible. And then, but what happens is, and I've had this as well, when you know, someone's been shit to you, and you want them to turn around and say sorry. And when I was talking to her, and it made me realise, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm never going to get that apology.
No.
So you're not going to get that apology. I'm not going to get that apology. So we need to just let it go. And that's what it is. You got to go.
Yeah.
They're never going to give me that closure. And the more I think about it, the more happy they're going to be that I'm still stewing about it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So and like you said, we get so caught up with like how like that person's wronged you or whatever, and how I'm never going to forgive them. I'm not going to forgive them until they apologise or whatever else. But it's like, you're not forgiving these people for their benefit. You know what I mean? It's for you. You're spending that person lives rent free up here every fucking day, taking away your energy. Just winding you up, like, when you're just making an omelette, and it's like, oh, you should have said that. And it's like, actually, if you just go, do you know what? Another philosophy I live a life by is like, you hurt these people with your success, mate. The worst thing you can do to people that don't like you is to just be fucking brilliant and good and successful. That's the worst thing. Let them see that happen. That'd be the worst thing, rather than you just getting the ump and firing back. And the amount of messages I've typed out to certain people, like, I've heard someone said this about me behind my back, or someone said that, and I'm like typing out this, like, and back in the day I would have 100% sent it. I wouldn't have even read it back, mate. I would have just been like, bang, 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 have that, and then like an hour later I'd be going, oh fuck, I shouldn't have said,
oh no,
and you read it back 6 months later, and you're like, oh my god, you sound like such a cunt. What have you done? It's like, and they've probably shown that to 5 people, and what have you gained from it? What have you gained?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. You've gained nothing. You've just made things worse. So, as hard as it is, you have got to just try and let it go. You have to just go, right, that's never going to work out. I've got to stop spending that much energy on that waste of time thing, and try and put it in a box and just put it away. Just get rid of it. Yeah, exactly, and then you'll be surprised how freeing that is. Suddenly you go, oh yeah, actually.
It really is, yeah. Once you realise that you don't, obviously you can't help your emotions, but like you choose how long you fucking wallow in it for, It's like, and everyone needs to wallow and needs to feel their emotions, especially blokes, generally speaking. Like we're so conditioned to just shove all any kind of feelings down. But we all know that's just no good. It's just going to explode eventually, and it's not going to come out in a positive way. But like I say, like you said, there's feeling these things, but also recognising like it's time to actually let go of that now, because how long are you going to allow that person or that situation? How long are you going to allow it to ruin your life for? Because that's what you're doing. You're spending every day thinking about it. I used to be like it with money and debt. And, I moved out at 18, like I said, and I weren't ready to move out. I didn't have enough money to move out. I fucked all my credit rating up. I ended up getting loads of debt. And for years, I'm still paying the residuals off of it now, but for years, I'd be scared if there was a knock at the door, and I used to hate looking at the letters and all stuff like that. And it consumed my whole life. The last thing I thought about when I went to bed, first thing I thought about in the morning. Yeah. And it was just so exhausting. And after a while, I was just like, I can't remember who it was that said it to me now, but they were like, they can't have what you haven't got. And I was like, yeah, like, what are they going to do? They're not going to kill me. They're not going to put me in prison. They're not going to fucking take my house off me. They're like, this is just numbers on a screen. Yeah. It's like, and as soon as I let that go, obviously I'm not saying I weren't stressed about it at all when I was just walking back going, oh fine, I owe all these people money, but like, I just chose not to let that dictate my fucking day to day. I'll think about it when I need to think about it. If they knock on the door, then I'll think about it. But at the end of the day, same with this energy crisis and heating, mother half, rightly so, was like worried about it. It's like, how are we going to be able to afford an extra £100 a month? How are we going to, we'll have to keep the heating off and do this. And it's like, no, we're going to fucking heat my family. My family is going to be warm when it needs to be warm, right? And they will get what they fucking get, and that's the end of it. And I truly mean that. Like, they're not just going to switch me off. And it's like, as it happens, we've been okay so far. But like, I'm not gonna sit there with a fucking blanket and a jumper on when I'm paying over £1,000 just to rent the place. Yeah. Like, it's bollocks, mate. At the very minimum we deserve here is room temperature, do you know what I mean? Anything below that, the thermostat stays on 20 degrees, and when it drops below, the fucking heating comes on. I've turned the smart meter off. I don't even want to look at it. It doesn't make any odds to me. It's like,
what makes me laugh is that you've got to plug the smart meter in. So what electricity is that taking up?
Should be called a divvy meter.
Oh, look at that. It's just electricity bill's gone up since I put the smart meter in. I find all of that we should be able to, like, this is the thing, innit, with corporations and everything being privatised, is that they make you feel guilty for things that you actually should have. Heating,
exactly,
food.
Yeah.
That the fact that someone said that, the fact that it's a cost of living crisis. So what do you mean the cost of living? Like Philip, what's his name? Philip Kostelecki, whatever his name is. He said it. I probably said his name wrong. Sorry, Phil. But he was going like, what do you mean? I can't afford to live, which is insane.
That is
insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't afford to live? Like, you're alive, so you shouldn't have to pay for that. It's nuts.
But, that is. The harsh end of capitalism, mate, isn't it? It's just like the rich will keep getting richer. You'll never stop the rich getting rich, ever. You'll never, ever fucking stop it. Think about, like, the cost of living payments and all that stuff. Like, where's that money going? If you're poor, if you consider yourself poor, working class or whatever, that money, you get, like, your cost of living payment. That money isn't going into investments. It isn't going into a bank. It's not going to mature or grow. You're not going to make any money out of that. That money's going to go maybe on a McDonald's, maybe down the pub, maybe, a bit of retail therapy, which is not that fucking do it, mate. Do you live your life and be happy? But like, all that money is doing is going straight back into the fucking system, and everyone else is hemorrhaging money left, right, and centre, and like Amazon, they have gone up 30%, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, because all that fucking money the government have given us, people are just giving straight to Jeff Bezos, mate.
And he doesn't pay tax.
And he doesn't pay tax.
And so this is the thing, if everyone got paid properly, all that, like you've just said, that money goes back into the system anyway. Or supposedly goes back in. If the system wasn't so corrupt, then we'd be fine. But it's got a big old hole in the system and then they go, it's because you go down the pub. That's why the system's fucked. Nurses have been buying dinner instead of actually staying at work.
But they got a phone contract though.
Yeah. How dare they? I mean, but mind you, this is another conversation that will go round and round and round, and it ends up we sound like proper stoners.
Stoners are just like my granddad and his mate.
That's it. Then they go, all right, boomer. All right.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, this has been great, Ross. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Oh, mate, what a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well done, mate. Well done. Where can we find you on the socials, Ross?
I'm the Ross McGrane on Instagram, Ross McGrane on Facebook, TikTok as well. There's not much going on there, but there's bits. Radio Essex as well, which is on DAB and bits and pieces. I'm doing a show with John Oakes at the Thameside Theatre Grays, 25th of Feb. First full run of Edinburgh this year.
Oh, mate, you fucking idiot.
Well, I thought I was feeling so stoic and, just loving life. This would be a great balance and exercise.
Things are going too well. I've got all this pile of money. What should I do? I'll go and throw it.
I've got a couple of little exciting bits happening and whatever else. But yeah, good. Thanks for having me, mate. I love this podcast. It's a real pleasure to be on.
We talked about having you on ages ago. Just now it's finally happened, and I'm glad.
I thought you must have been fucking scraping the barrel today. I was like, Jesus, he's gone through his. He's got right at the Acast on it a couple of weeks ago. He's like, Christ, hold on a minute. Everyone's fucking busy today.
Yeah. We probably won't even put this out.
Yeah.
No, nice one, Ross. Thanks, man.
Cheers,
Appreciate
mate.
it.